You gonna play that beautiful song for us, Jared, that we spent hours with lots of blood, sweat, and tears to get it going?
Yes, we did.
Hey, you were my all-important one-person focus group, Jared.
I was the... That's true. I'm
Do
the producer.
you like this song? Yes or no?
You wrote and performed, but I'm the producer. I have a producing credit on that.
Exactly. Jared actually gets all the royalties. He knew a bunch of tricks when we were writing up the contract I was not aware of.
Some classic,
speaking of some difficult conversations.
I mean, that still happens now. Where it's like, no, this will be great for you. This will be great for you. I'll own it, but then from there, you'll get a small signing fee up front.
If you sign right here, you'll get a $150 coupon for. And I'll take all the royalties and everything. Don't worry. But
and we'll handle those later. But I'll be in charge of them.
Exactly. You can always the sentence, Jared. Don't worry, you can trust me.
And I'll give you a gift of like a Folex. And look,
there we go.
Here's a signing gift. Wow.
Wow.
You see
that's
that?
That's a $50,000 watch right there.
That's a Rolex GMT right there.
Right.
You know how much that cost?
I spent a whole $200,000 on it.
25 grand? Sure. Yeah.
Sure,
yeah 25
right.
grand. That's how much the Rolex cost. All right, here's the song, the powerful song by Chad, produced by Jared. Now that I think about it, we should actually share writing credits as well.
Oh, that's true.
Part of my job as a producer is to have input in the writing. So.
I bet you Chris is getting a better royalty cut than I am, isn't he? For that tasty bass line. Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable podcast. We are here today to talk about something maybe not quite as lighthearted as our last episode, which was health remedies. So check that out if you haven't already. But today we are talking about navigating some difficult conversations. So we'll be getting in the thick of things today, in the weeds with some touchy subjects, some touchy topics. I'm hoping Jared and I will still be friends and colleagues and co-hosts of this podcast after today's episode, but there's no guarantees. So stay tuned, everybody, because we'll be talking about some difficult topics to talk about and how to navigate those troubling waters. So without further ado, my sailor and my co-captain to help me navigate these difficult waters, my good buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Hello, Chad.
Was hoping you'd say ahoy.
I was taken aback. I didn't even know. My trusty what do you call it? My trusty first boy.
First mate?
First mate, thank you. I call you first
weird.
boy. My first boy, Chad. This ship would not be flowing straight if it weren't for you. Speaking of flowing straight, Chad got a new van. Maybe one day you'll see it on Instagram. Follow Untranslatable Podcast.
Spread a little love.
In anticipation for that one day that might come. Might not, but that's the fun of the game.
That one blurry picture of a van. That may or may not be mine.
With part of his thumb over the lens. And then he realizes that he was actually using the forward-facing camera, so it's just his face going. Or you can follow us on Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. And you can also, please give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. Chad, so speaking of difficult conversations, professional basketball player, philanthropist, father, leader. LeBron James has... is known for not only being a pioneer on the court, but also off the court. Mm-hmm. And Zlatan Ibrahimovic is not a fan.
Of LeBron?
Not of LeBron, of some of his off the court antics. Let's say.
Really? Okay.
You haven't heard about this?
I have not heard about this.
All right. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has professional soccer player has doubled who I liked, but I'm really starting to not like. Has doubled down on his criticism of athletes who mix politics and sports. The Milan striker was speaking on Tuesday at a press conference for the Sanremo music festival, which he is co-hosting. Athletes unite the world. Politics divide it, he said. Our role is to unite the world by doing what we do best. Athletes should be athletes, and politicians should be politics. To be fair, that could be some, language thing there.
Talking about difficult grammar.
Yeah, well, so yeah, maybe you shouldn't speak Ibra. Last week, Ibrahimovic...
Although he speaks like 5 or 6 languages. In
That's
his
what I'm saying. He was
defense.
also probably speaking Italian there. So,
Right.
Last week, Ibrahimovic signaled out Los Angeles star LeBron James for bringing politics into the sporting arena. I like James a lot. He's phenomenal what he's doing, but I don't like when he's playing. Excuse me, I need to zoom in. I don't know why I always think I can have it in size 13 font from 6 feet away. But I don't like when people with a status speak about politics. Do what you're good at doing, Ibrahimovic told UEFA plus Discovery Plus in Sweden. I play football because I'm the best playing at football. I'm the best playing at football. That is not my fault. I don't do politics. If I'd be a politician, I would be doing politics. This is the first mistake famous people do when they become famous. For me, it is better to avoid certain topics and do what you're good doing. Otherwise, you're risking doing something wrongly. I just read that. By the way.
I have a feeling that whoever was a translator for this,
I did read that correctly. Right. This is from The Guardian. James, who been. See, what is this? Who wrote this? This is The Guardian.
I think you need to summarize the article,
This
Jared,
is a
'cause this
reputable
is so sad.
source. James, who's been one of the NBA's leading voices against racial injustice and political brutality, dismissed Ibrahimovic's comments. I will never shut up about things that are wrong. I preach about my people, and I preach about equality, social justice, racism, voter suppression. Things that go on in our community, he said last week, because I was a part of my community at one point and saw the things that were going on, and I know that's still going on because I have a group of 300 plus kids at my school that are going through the same thing, and they need a voice. I'm their voice, and I use my platform to continue to shed light on everything that might be going on, not only in my community, but in this country and around the world. James also pointed out that Ibrahimovic, who once said Muhammad Ali is his favorite athlete because of what he did inside and outside the ring, has spoken about politics in past. He's the guy who said in Sweden he was talking about the same things because his last name wasn't a traditional Swedish last name. He felt like there was some racism going on, James said. I speak from a very educated mind. I'm kind of the wrong guy to go at because I do my homework. At Tuesday's press conference, Ibrahimovic also spoke about his recent clash with his former Man U teammate, Romelu Lukaku. He's on my team now, by the way, in FIFA, just saying. The pair confronted each other during a recent Milan derby. If he wanted to come to Sanremo, he's welcome, Ibrahimovic said, but what happens on the pitch stays on the pitch.
There we go. Interesting.
Difficult topics. Ibrahimovic says avoid it. You're a sports guy. Play sports.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know. I feel like that's the same argument a lot of political pundits, especially on the right, will say, is they'll say, oh, stick to sports. That seems to be the kind of stereotypical phrase they tend to use.
And he sounds really stupid when LeBron's like, I'm doing actual things in these communities and seeing change happen partially because of what he's doing, Mm-hmm. And it's like you what? So you're going to tell me I shouldn't be helping these people that I'm clearly seeing help being given to, It's like, that's ridiculous. And
I don't get where Zlatan's coming from in this case. I mean, on the one hand, I get it that I think maybe, and this is kind of a straw man argument here, but maybe what he might be kind of hinting at here is that, I guess stick to quote unquote stay in your lane, I guess, if you
stick to sports is the common phrase too.
Right. But the thing is too, is like LeBron said, if you're doing your homework and you know what you're talking about,
right.
Why can't you use that platform for some good and talk about something and make some positive changes?
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
It's interesting, and actually I have to give kind of an early shout out.
And also that's not even how politics works. Like
right.
Politics is not just politicians. Politics is also people voting for things. It's not just It's not like he's like reporting on every just reporting on what's happening in politics. Like he's talking about things that affect him and his community specifically. Mm-hmm. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like everyone has to talk about politics for politics to work. It can't just be politicians.
And the other thing is too is I think it's hard for Zlatan to fully understand because he's never been a black man in America.
Yeah.
So it's not as close to home. But I will say that I like
but
the
clearly
fact
he kind of understands apparently he has some sort of feeling of what it feels like to feel like an outsider, according to what he said.
Right.
About,
exactly.
Being kind of like the same thing that Özil said. I'm not shitting on Özil, but similar concept where it's like, you don't have a traditional Swedish name. So it's like, if you're not doing great, they pick on you.
Right. Well, I think everybody should go somewhere where they are the minority for a short time, period of time, just to understand what it feels like. And obviously, I understand as a white guy, it's different for me being a minority than other.
But he has. I mean, he's traveled the world.
Right.
I mean, he's been everywhere.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm surprised that. On the one hand, I get where he's coming from when, like, if you want to talk about people talking about topics that they might not be educated on, but I don't think that's the case with LeBron. I don't think he's just talking to talk. It's there's a reason behind what he's doing. And he puts his money where his mouth is as well. LeBron.
Exactly.
It's not like he's just saying a bunch of stuff for publicity. He does a lot for the community. So I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you. In Zlatan, I'm surprised. Zlatan makes a lot of comments though too, and who knows?
The thing. I don't know if I'm surprised that he would say something like that. Like it's not if out of like it's not shocking to me that he's the person to say something like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's like you could the thing to me whenever someone like this says something like this is like you could also just say nothing. It's like you didn't have to do this. It's like, why are you saying anything? It's like, you don't want to talk about it. That's fine. But it's like, why you got to go at someone that is like clearly, if you were to even do the slightest bit of research, actually making a difference,
Right. Well, the other thing too is that I just don't think the political things that LeBron talks about and is working towards, why does Zlatan need to care about it? He doesn't live in America. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like he
doesn't even really understand it.
Right. Well, and technically, I guess he doesn't really quote unquote need to, right?
I don't blame him, but
but
I would just not say anything.
Right. Yeah.
That's a common go-to in the sports politics overlap world is the stick to sports. Like that is the or it's also common in like it's really common in any sort of anything. Like I'm in the car world. I follow a lot of car YouTubers or whatever or journalists. And the second that they talk about anything political, you get like stick to cars. That's it happens in everything. And it's like it's like and I don't know. It's I don't understand that mentality, or it's like you can also it's like you're just mad that the people you like don't agree with you is really what it is.
I also don't understand though why so many people out there are so touchy and sensitive when it comes to why do you have to always agree with with something that here's a good example, Jared.
It feels like a personal attack on people though. That's why.
So here's a good example of, and I think sadly you see this occasionally in the field of art and in the field of music, especially if we're talking about classical music. The first example that comes to my mind is Richard Wagner. He is known as being a giant anti-Semite, just all around asshole.
I'm sure they all were back there.
Right, right. But here's the thing. So, I don't agree with that, but I still love listening to a lot of his symphonies. You know what I mean? So I think you don't need to agree with. And obviously, this is a little different because it's also a dead person. So it's
if you were at a party and you were like DJing the party, a young person party, you're not playing Wagner. Would you play R. Kelly some remix to Ignition?
Oh, that's a tricky one. That is a banger of a song.
Is that the line? Is that the line though? Because I probably wouldn't. But I might
probably wouldn't either.
But it's weird because I might give more leniency to Michael Jackson, to someone playing Michael Jackson, than R. Kelly. Is it a dead or alive thing? Is that the line?
Well, first of all, maybe. Well, first of all, though, I don't think Michael was ever he was never proven guilty, right?
It's funny if you were if on Twitter if like someone that has any sort of notoriety talks bad about Michael Jackson, there is like a swarm
they just get drugged through.
There's like a swarm of people that'll like come and respond, and it's like at Michael M. Jackson fan or like Michael Jackson fan 3, and like
because that's how I spend my time on social media. Right. Oh man.
I mean that's true. I guess that's true.
It is tricky, but I think
it's
the
shady
fact that,
for sure.
Right. It definitely is. But I also think the fact that so many people, especially, I think the funniest ones, honestly, are when like an artist, especially like a musician. Here's a good example, Jared. When Willie Nelson wrote the song "Vote 'Em Out," which was actually a song of the pod we had a while back, which was when Beto O'Rourke was running against Ted Cruz in Texas. Well, the irony back then was there were so many people who were like, I ain't gonna listen to Willie Nelson no more because he's a liberal, he's a libtard, he's a Democrat. I'm not gonna follow that, and so they were very against it. First of all, it's
Rage
like
Against
I can't
the
believe. Right. Yes, that one as well. That one as well. That's another great example where here's the thing though. If you enjoy the music, I mean, now look, if you don't get that Rage Against the machine they're raging against is the system, I'm sorry, you're a little slow.
The songs just sound good, that's all. No one they're not listening to the words, I guess.
Right. But see here's the thing. So here's one musician that I like his music and his guitar playing, but cannot stand him as a person. Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent is, I mean, if you listen to his interviews, he's one of the craziest.
Oh, I've heard him talk.
Craziest dudes out there.
Oh, I'm very familiar.
Very crazy political leanings, or maybe not crazy is the right term, but very, very. What's the right term here? Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Staunch.
Yep.
Some violence. Yeah, a lot of references to murdering people.
Exactly. And so for me, it's difficult to. It's tricky, but at the same time, I think just because if you appreciate someone, Zlatan as a great athlete, I think you should also be allowed to leave it at that. Like, who cares what he thinks about, if you should say something or not say something in politics if you're an athlete. At the end of the day, who cares? The reason why Zlatan is famous and the reason why we like him, obviously he does have funny interviews and says interesting things, but at the end of the day, we like him because the dude knows how to kick a damn soccer ball into a goal. You know what I mean?
Rip City, for sure. I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I understand, but it's just, I think... If I'm not a huge fan of Ibrahimovic. I agree with you. I just think he's a great soccer player to watch or whatever. But like for people that I am legitimate fans of, I don't know. Depending on it does bum you out if you hear them say some stupid shit.
Of course.
You're like, even if it's something as like I would say. Quote unquote harmless as what Ibra said, just the generic stick to sports. It's just like you didn't have to say anything. Just the fact that you're essentially like dumb enough to say that, in my mind, it's just like you didn't have to say anything. And it's just like, it does make me sort of look sort of I'm not down on you, but like, it's like, it bums me out a little bit. Now, if I were like a hardcore Ibra fan, I don't know if it would cause me to burn all of my Ibra swag, but I'll just be like, yeah, that was dumb. But this guy can score a goal from half fields,
Right.
like it's nothing. So
Right. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's funny that just the entire rigmarole of the media and the way everything. I mean, this is one of those headlines that you hear and you wonder, was it? Did you actually see the interview or because I'm just curious.
I don't think I saw Ibra's part, but I did actually hear LeBron James's response.
Okay.
He was doing like a Zoom interview. I did hear that.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Either way, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of ironic Ibrahimovic telling him to stick to sports. And it's like, well, dude, why don't you stick to sports as well and just not, like you said, just not say
exactly.
anything?
I mean, that's the irony.
Right.
It's like you're not sticking to sports by even bringing up that someone else shouldn't be talking about it.
Exactly.
It's like, well, why do you care then?
But
You're just sticking to sports.
Right. But then at the same time, it's okay if he says things, about, the way it feels being an immigrant in Sweden, and it's, I do find it interesting sometimes, just the cognitive dissonance that some people have, just the lack of awareness you have, and some of it could be self-awareness. Some of it could be also, like you mentioned, when he said something about, Muhammad Ali being one of his favorites. It's like, that's a great example of not sticking to sports.
It's like, he couldn't do his sport for years because he didn't stick to sports.
Yep, exactly. And at the end of the day, if you can't stand up for what you believe in, I mean, at the end of the day, all you are then is just some dude who kicks a ball through a goal or shoots it through a hoop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is that really what you want your legacy to be, is just that? Which is still a great legacy that a lot of people will never be able to accomplish, but still.
I do like that LeBron called him on the Muhammad Ali thing, because it is kind of just like, well, see, now I'm just like, you're just essentially kind of not lying, but you don't really know why you like Muhammad Ali. It's like, you don't really like him for why you think you like him.
Right.
And based off of what you're saying right now about LeBron James, if Muhammad Ali was alive now or still like, in his prime now or whatever, you would not like him. You would not like him more than
Definitely
you dislike LeBron.
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Do you even know why you like Muhammad Ali, or are you just saying that because he's, quote unquote, one of the best?
Right. Yeah, it's a good question, Jared. Well, Jared, I actually do have a shout out. I did find my shout out. So let's spread some love.
A little love.
And this one is a really interesting story here, Jared. This is from techdeeps.com. And this is actually pretty cool. I don't know if you've heard about this, but the Netherlands, they have found a way to turn biodegradable masks into flowers after burial. Now, when I read this headline at first, I thought, wait, so the person is wearing it when they die and get buried? No, that's not what they mean. What they mean is, if you could bury the mask and a flower will grow.
Chad, wow.
I know. I was
That sounds like something I would say. I love it.
No kidding. I guess we've been talking too much or something. But yeah, so anyway, so the Netherlands biodegradable masks turn into flowers after burial. So here's an innovative way to make bees happy.
Okay.
100% biodegradable masks with flower seeds ready for planting. The woman behind the idea, Marianne de Groot Pons, I think that's how you say it. She is Dutch.
What's up with these Dutch inventors that we've had this week?
There must be something in the clogs or the fries and the mayo, Jared.
The other guy, Van Vies was the scream tube guy, or scream hole guy.
Hey, you scream to test if you've got COVID, and then when we find out enough people don't have COVID and we don't need our masks anymore, we just bury them. We'll have very pretty fields of flowers, Jared.
Yes.
The Netherlands will be the post-COVID place to be, Jared. But yeah. So anyway, shout out to Marianne de Groot Pons, a graphic designer living and working in Utrecht, the Netherlands.
Wait, are you going to explain how they work?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So, well, here's kind of the backstory for you, Jared. So, all these years I've been working as a graphic designer, I've used so many resources from nature to be able to make my drawings, especially paper. So, I wanted to give it back to her being Mother Nature. For weeks, I fell on blue disposable masks thrown on the streets and sidewalks don't be doing that, people. First of all, to our American listeners, please continue wearing masks, even if your state mandate.
Yeah, I told you. I told you last episode. I saw a dude working at a store just straight up no mask, and not even under his chin, just no mask.
Have you seen the video? There's a guy that goes into a car dealership, and he has a mask on that has been screen printed to look like.
I hate that.
I thought it was kind of funny, but
it's funny.
It
looks
stupid.
funny, but I don't. I hate people that are looking for that type of attention. I can't. I do not like it. I don't like it.
That's fair.
Especially because then it requires you. The joke requires you to pull down your mask. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
True.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm at work, bro. Like I don't know. I just don't find.
Good thing you don't work in a grocery store, Jared. Very good thing you don't work in a grocery store. I feel like
I don't find this. I don't find it funny. I don't find it funny.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Anyway, so the way the mask works is these. Let's see here. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the material is rice paper and contains flower seeds that are actually even visible, produced in a small workshop in the Netherlands. Instead of rubber bands, they have soft cords made of pure sheep's wool. The flower seeds remain in the mask using a special glue made from water and potato starch. And in addition to all the other sustainable materials from which the biodegradable mask is made,
I need to see these masks.
Even the logo is written in a special sustainable ink. Here, I can send you the link here, Jared, on it. It's Tech Deeps is the website for anyone out there listening and curious.
Who's the writer? I'm always on that site.
I figured, Jared. That
Tech
sounds
Deeps.
just like your type of website.
I just want to see what these things look like.
And it looks like you might also be able to go to mariebloom.com.
I
think that's the name of the masks themselves.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you do want to buy one of these, though, Jared, for best results, the masks need to be buried in a garden or a large pot, or if you throw them in the trash, they will decompose on their own in the landfill, where they will be transported, but they probably will not be turned into beautiful flowers. So it looks like you do need to plant them or dispose of them in a way which the flowers will actually grow.
I've taken to occasionally. Actually, more times than not. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say occasionally. I'm just gonna say I've taken to double masking these days. Mm-hmm. This seems like it would be a good. I would like this as an inside mask, and and over my under my cloth mask. I would go with the biodegradable one. I don't know why. The fact that it's a biodegradable seed mask makes me wonder. Like, can I really wear this thing and and trust it? But I do love the idea, and I think that would be the best environmental route if you're going to be a double masker, especially if you're going into stores apparently where people are just like, F it, masks off.
Right. That future song's going to be on the top of the Billboard charts when the pandemic's over, Jared. Just wait.
Then I would definitely go with that, and then I would have no waste, except for, I guess, the water used to wash my cloth mask.
There you go.
Shout out to Mary B. Bloom.
Exactly. Definite shout out. That's pretty awesome. Well, Jared, should we get started with our Oh, it is just
almost
that time.
A little bit late. We're almost a little late, but
it made it just on time. Yes. So it's time for some untranslatables, which are idioms, proverbs, sayings, axioms that don't always translate on a one-to-one basis into English. And you want to go ahead and get us started today, Jared?
Sure, dude. I have two Polish ones. My
nice.
First one is bo tak. Because so.
Oh, okay. That's just probably used to explain why something is how it is, right?
What do you mean?
Like it's a phrase used when kind of like because I said so.
There you go. That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised you got. I'm not surprised, but I was gonna go into this whole thing about one of the worst phrases you can hear as a child.
Oh, I know. My dad used to pull that one And that used to
Both of
drive
my
me nuts as a
parents
kid.
did, Yeah.
Yeah, because I said so. Yeah. Well, we like to know the reason why, Jared. We probably some days we were probably easy kids to raise, other days not so easy. I'll get it started with an Italian phrase. I think this is kind of could be a apropos one to today's topic. Andare in blanco. I think.
What language did you say it was?
Italian.
Oh, okay.
Italian. Andare in blanco.
Oh, I could have figured out that was Italian. Something
to go
about white.
White.
To go white?
To go white.
Is that like to be nervous, scared, shocked, angry? Any of those emotions?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good guess. Very good guess.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just double checking if you were right or
I
not.
did
That's a very
rapid fire
good guess.
a couple guesses.
You did. You did. But no, so I would say that one actually has a slightly different meaning. When would be a scenario, Jared, where you might go white?
Embarrassment.
Okay, why would you be embarrassed?
Because you tripped doing a grand entrance. Because you fumbled over your words and actually said "fuck" instead of "duck" at a party.
Not quite. You're. I would say this one generally has to do with the opposite sex.
Oh, because you said something. Is it about you saying? Oh, when are you due? And it's like, when am I due?
Nope.
No.
This means it's to fail when trying to pursue a partner, a girl or a boy. So
I see.
You got to have that difficult conversation. Yeah, you say, "Hey, I don't want to be in the friend zone," and they're like, "Sorry, you're stuck in the friend zone."
Yeah, you were. What do you mean you don't want to be in the friend zone? You never had a chance. This is the only zone you have.
Right.
Also, another Polish. I imagine the Polish do their J's like a Y.
I think so. Yes.
Jak ni jak tak.
So, jak is how.
Yeah.
Right. How.
Oh, interesting.
How no. How never. How so.
Oh, interesting.
What?
Well, they say the literal is how not when yes, but you're right. There are two hows in there, so that's not technically the literal. They gave me some washed over literal, not like a proper. Let me go into the translator and get a proper literal here. How dare they try to
lead us down the wrong untranslatable
that's what they say.
path?
No, that's what they say. How not like that? That's what Google says.
That
how
means,
not when yes. That's what they gave me.
Okay, that means how not when yes.
Think about it.
Is it?
I would say this actually has. Oh no, go ahead before I throw you off with what I was about to say.
This one to me sounds like. It sounds like. How not? What was it again? How not like yes?
Yeah. So think about it. You need to have that difficult conversation, and you keep backing out.
It's when you approach something from the wrong angle.
And I say to you, Chad, listen. How not when yes?
So you got to listen.
You can't. You're losing thousands of dollars by the day. You've become an embarrassment to yourself and your community and your family. You have to, and you have to end this. How not when yes?
No matter
I can't
what.
do it, man.
No matter
How
what.
not when yes? Come on, I can't do it. Everything's fine.
Stop making excuses.
You're totally capable. It's just words of encouragement, essentially.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Okay. This one, I would say is maybe not words of encouragement. This is also Italian.
Maybe not words of
Non
encouragement.
avere pelle sulla lingua.
Something about language or speaking.
Actually, lingua is tongue. Without hair on his tongue.
Oh, is that like a coward? No.
I mean, I would say you might say to someone, this means more so, like a coward would not do this, Jared. I would say that. A coward would not. Coward would definitely not have hair on his tongue.
A coward would not have hair on their tongue. What's the untranslatable again?
Without hair on his tongue.
So you're saying that would fit into a coward would be one of those, but that's not what it means.
Right. Well, I would say a coward is probably not going to do this.
Okay.
So for example, Jared.
Oh, is that like to speak brazenly and aggressively?
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Hold the truth without holding back.
Hold the truth without holding, or like tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Sorry, yeah, tell the truth.
I gotcha.
Without holding back. Yeah,
Tell it like it is.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, those people suck, but they're great. You know, I don't know if I really have any of those people in my life. Now that I think about it, maybe I do. I take that back. I do actually. Some tell it like it is people.
It's important to have some of those in your life, I would say.
Yeah, I think I do. That's all, by the way. I told you I had 2 untranslatables.
Okay, let me give you one more, and I think we've done this one, but I just love this one. Minestra riscaldata.
We have done it, but what is it? What is it?
Reheated soup.
I think there's another untranslatable that we did.
Reheated cabbage is the other one that we've done.
Yeah. What language is that?
I think also Italian.
Okay.
Maybe Spanish. Maybe.
Is it the same thing? Like getting back together with an old fling?
So that's one meaning.
Rekindling old flames?
Yes, but the flame doesn't have to be a romantic interest. I think it could be. So here's the description.
Like, maybe like my best friend from middle school. I haven't talked to this person in 12 years.
Not quite. Let me just explain it. So whether it's a romantic partner or a project you've been working on, reheated soup is when you lose interest in something, likely due to lack of originality and variety.
So kind of like this thing
your
right
keyboard,
here in the bottom corner of my...
Right.
I need to
Who knows,
that
maybe
soup.
5 months from now, I hope my van won't be reheated soup 5 months from now.
Well, the thing about a van is you can actually just use it as a vehicle as well.
That's true.
Like... worst case scenario, you know.
Right. Exactly. Anyways, I think those were some fun untranslatables. Now, though, Jared, it's time to talk about the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So let's put on our serious caps here, Jared, and talk about navigating difficult conversations. And I'll tell you, Jared, where this idea came from today, because I do think it's important. And I also want to give a very late shout out to the content creator and author, Emmanuel Acho. Have you heard of him before? So Emmanuel Acho, go on YouTube, Jared, and just type in Emmanuel Acho. Just so you can get Acho, A-C-H-O, so you can get an idea of what he does. So he has a YouTube channel with about 480,000 subscribers, and he does something called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. And so what he does is he talks about uncomfortable topics with different audiences, and they're really interesting. So I would really highly encourage any of our listeners out there to check out his channel and give some of the videos a watch, because I do think there's a lot you can learn from him. I will say this though, Jared. Especially the production.
To Oprah. Okay, yep. Emmanuel Acho.
Yep. I will say this though, at least if you watch some of the videos, the uncomfortable conversations with the black man, if his production team is listening, y'all need to cut off with the cheesy ass music in the background, because it just makes the video so sappy and it detracts from the actual conversation. Yeah, they have like running background music throughout the whole conversation.
Yeah,
and it's like, come on. Yeah, but so this is actually where the idea, Jared, of difficult or uncomfortable conversations started to kind of come to my mind, where, you know, I think this is such an important thing to talk about, but we usually don't talk about it. One, because I would say your average person generally doesn't want to have a lot of conflict, right? I think you and I both have mentioned on the podcast, when possible, we definitely try to avoid any conflicts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm a non-confrontational person. Sometimes to a fault. Yeah, I would say so. Have you watched any of these Emmanuel Acho videos?
Yes.
Which ones have you watched?
I watched. He did one with. Excuse me, I had some Werners earlier. He did an episode with some police officers. So that was really interesting. It was really interesting. Emmanuel talks about, you know, navigating the United States as a black man and how it's different for him as a black man versus, a white person or even a police officer. And, he mentions how in the video, when they're doing the video, if you look, they have all these police officers there. And he says, I'm used to this being one, he said he was like 3 black people in the room.
Comfortable as hell right now.
Well, what he said, though, is he wasn't uncomfortable because he's so used to being put in those situations.
They're all wearing their uniforms? Oh, no, I would not like that.
Yep. But then he mentions, they ask him, well, how do you, and this was a really interesting question. They ask him, well, how do you see police officers who are black? And I was really curious what his response would be. And he said, well, I see them as black first, a police officer second. And he said, and obviously, Jared, I can't.
That's what the police officer said?
No, this is what Emmanuel said. And obviously, I can't, relate to this as a white dude, but I just found it really interesting that, he talked about how for him, he looks, and I don't know if this is, at least this is what he said was, for him as a black man, he tends to, when he goes and he kind of reads the room, he kind of looks for where are my people? Where are the other black people in the room, just in case anything goes down? And I'll tell you, I'll be honest, as a white person, that's not really a thought I've ever need to have. Which I think does go to show you the fact that, white privilege is definitely a thing. For those people out there who think, well, just because you're a white person and you don't have your life served on a silver platter, that's not what white privilege means.
I wasn't rich. I didn't have things handed to me as a kid.
I have to work hard too. It's like that's not what it's about.
Yeah, my parents abused me as a kid.
Right, exactly.
You think I'm privileged? I freaking hate that, dude. I hate it when people go to that where it's like you clearly don't understand what white privilege is. It has nothing to do with some just white people have millions handed down to them when they turn 18 to start businesses, and cops are just like, oh, all right,
right.
On you go, sir.
Exactly.
You're white.
and I mean, these are difficult conversations for a lot of people to have because, I mean, it's very personal. I mean, as a white person, I mean, you can definitely really quickly get on the defensive and take things personally. But I think these conversations are so crucial if we want to grow as a culture, improve as a culture, just have more empathy for one another. And these difficult conversations, I think it's important for everybody, because I think it's also important for us to understand where are these people coming from who do say things like, well, I have to work hard. I haven't experienced white privilege. It's like, okay, well, you're obviously coming from a bit of a place of ignorance, but how can we lead this conversation in a way where we can all come out of it learning something from one another? And I know this might sound very kind of, woo-woo and hippie and all that stuff, but I do think it is really, really important. So I mean, race and racism is a big, uncomfortable, kind of proverbial elephant in the room, I think, for a lot of people. And in the U.S., I think we're more confronted with it than a lot of other cultures because we do have so many different races, ethnicities, all living under, one country, working together. And I truly believe that is really what makes us as Americans stronger, is the fact that we have so many different types of people out there, different ideas, different cultural backgrounds. And
our country is founded on slavery and racism as well. So like from the introduction of our country, the difficult relationship with black and white people has been put into law since the founding of this country.
Right.
And so like it's been a constant struggle, as long as this country has existed.
Well, I mean, just imagine, Jared, if we got in a time machine right now and told our great grandparents that you and I did a podcast together. I mean, I know it sounds funny.
It's funny that you say a podcast though, because you could also say that we were like friends or something.
Right. Well, yeah, anything.
Because you're just going to confuse them. A podcast,
right? Or the fact you and I graduated from the same school.
Yeah, that's true.
True. I mean, but I think the issue for a lot of white people is they don't realize that slavery wasn't really that long ago. When you hear the dates, it seems like a long time, but and actually Emmanuel mentions this on his YouTube channel in one of the videos. He said, well, my great grandparents would have been just towards the end of slavery, and they would have been born as slaves.
Right. And just because the end date in 1885, I should know that. It is 1885. Just because the end year was 1885 doesn't mean that it was just like all right. Good, know.
Right. See you later. We're
Sorry about that.
all equal and we're all friends now. Yeah, that's not how that works.
All right, these black people are going to go buy a house and get a job in an office and
right.
just live normal. Like, yeah, it's not like they're people don't. I don't know. It's just like we can sort of contextualize the transitions of like time way before us, like thousands of years before us, or millions of years before us. But like we can't contextualize it in the sense of like reality, really. Like how it's still happening. And it's like how could you say we're past something? I don't know. It's just I don't understand that.
Right. Well, I think it comes from. I don't think it always comes from a place of ill intent or malice, but I do think it does come from a place of ignorance. I think
ignorance and wishful thinking.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, I mean, as Americans, I would say racism tends to be a very, very hot topic in terms of difficult discussions, and I think a lot of younger people, our generation, it's not perfect, but I hope it's getting a bit better. It's really hard for me to say because I don't really look into a lot of this stuff, but
I mean, sure, it's getting better over time. But I think I think it's not whether it's getting better or worse. I think it's just more the ignorance is in like how quickly people think things are getting better, or how much better people think things are than they really are.
Right.
Like I think it feels like it should be a subjective statement. Objective statement. I don't know if it is or not, but it seems like it should be an objective statement to say like, racism is easier now than it was in the 40s.
Right.
Or better,
Right. Yeah.
Race relations
if you
have
look
improved.
at even just the legislation and quality of life, I would say that's probably some good evidence
but
for that.
I still think though there is a lot of ignorance in how much progress has been made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Well, it's also really easy to, and we did an episode, I think, about echo chambers and social media bubbles. It can also, if you're very progressive thinking and you have lots of friends who are open to pretty much everyone and anybody, then of course you might think that the world is, everybody is nice and friendly and progressive and, we're all open to come sit, have a seat at the table. And it's like, then you go to, your Jim Bob's house, in the little farm town down the road, and things can change really quickly,
Yeah. But I think those Jim Bob people too. I think they would say that everything is great too, especially if you keep voting Republican or whatever.
Right.
It's just different perspectives on what it means for. And I think those Jim Bob people too, because apparently that's what we're going to call them now. I would 100% think that a lot of people, these more conservative people, don't think racism is even an issue at all in the country anymore. Like it's not even anything that needs to be discussed or concerned about or obsessed over, because it's not a problem. There are small instances of people doing racist things, but overall racism is not a problem in this country.
Well, it's also easy to say if you're a white person. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
It's very easy to say racism isn't a problem because you're not affected by it.
We've had that conversation before about another thing that I love to hear white people say is claim that white people aren't racist. And it's like, how do you know? And it's like, just because they're not saying like overtly racist stuff around you, it's like, how do you know? They're not racist to you.
I mean, that goes back to the old saying or the sentence when people say, I'm not racist, but, and it's like, right
That's
after that but, they're about to say some
But
racist
I believe
shit.
this thing that is pretty racist.
Right, exactly.
But
exactly.
I believe it for a valid reason. You know,
Right.
it's different.
So, Jared, how about this? I think it might be kind of fun if we could come up with a list of some other topics that might be some difficult conversations, and try to see, and maybe we can't find a way, but try to find a way of how you would handle or navigate having such a discussion. So obviously in the U.S., a big one is race and racism. What are some other topics that could lead to some difficult conversations?
I have one for you. Did your parents give you the sex talk when you were a kid?
Oh, not really.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes and no. The talk I got, and I can say on the podcast because it's not very graphic.
And there's no way they're going to listen to this.
Well, they can because that's what they told me. But there's my mom told me. I mean, we got the very basics in school. Put on a rubber to prevent pregnancy.
That's what they said. Put on a rubber.
Exactly. They took out the banana and rolled the condom down the banana.
I don't think I ever saw. I don't think I obviously heard the condoms in dental dams to avoid STDs,
right. Or a diaphragm as well.
But I never got the cucumber or banana
demonstration.
Yeah.
Well, Jared, did you even go to a public? Well, you didn't go to a public high school in America.
I didn't.
I was about to say that's why.
Yeah,
See,
I don't want my kids.
Your parents
knowing.
paid all that money to keep your eyes clean from no banana demonstrations, Jared.
You pay thousands of dollars to keep your kids' heads pure.
That's right.
Pure and ignorant.
That's right. But yeah, so what my parents basically told me was, I don't really think I had much of a talk at all with my dad. I think what my dad told me basically was, be a gentleman. That was pretty much the phrase. If I ever went out on a date with a girl, that's what he would say. My mom was more on the impression, she was like, you should wait until you're in a serious relationship with someone, or it's when I was a kid, it was you wait till marriage. Well, just not that I really knew what sex was.
Exactly.
But
it's just generally wait. But
right.
You don't really understand the process when they're saying.
Exactly. But as I got older, then it became just make sure if you are going to do it with somebody you love.
That's beautiful.
Was my mom's advice. So there you go. But yeah, sex.
And
sex
then as you got older,
is a weird.
It was just like, please, just don't hurt yourself.
Right, and be careful if you have kids. Make sure you're paying child support, or you wife them up.
Please get a good lawyer.
Exactly. But sex is a weird topic as well. Sex is one of those weird ones though, Jared, because depending on who you're talking about it with, it can or can't be a difficult topic. Mm-hmm. Like with your parents or your family, for sure. I find that really weird and awkward, and I don't want to talk about it, and it's very uncomfortable. But then if you have some good friends,
that's for you though. That's probably most people. That's not everyone though.
That's
there
true.
Are some of those people that are like my parents are my best friend. Those weirdos.
Right.
They probably can talk
Maybe,
about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Could be.
I'm in the same boat as you though.
But yeah, I mean, and I think if you're honestly, if I had a child and if they were of age where, it's about time to give them the birds and the bees talk, as they say, I would honestly sit them down, and the first couple things I would talk about with them would be, first of all, make sure, especially if you're young, make sure you really know the person well, because I don't think as a young person, you're learning a lot. They're learning a lot. You're more vulnerable in a lot of ways, I think, when you're younger and you're just starting out, than as you get older and you gain more experience and you kind of know how to handle relationships a little bit better. So, don't rush it would be one of the first things I would probably tell my kids.
All right, Chad, we don't need to give tips on how to give the sex talk.
Okay,
I mean, you can give tips. This is getting so uncomfortable.
See, there we go. But it is important though, Jared, to
listening to you tell people how to have sex is making, or when's the right time and what it means to have sex, what sex means, is making me very uncomfortable. Honestly, what you were about to say before that, which was that it's uncomfortable with your parents, but not that uncomfortable with your friends. Was that what you were about to say? I find it uncomfortable, honestly, with everyone. Like I don't.
That's fair.
I watched Bridgerton. Yeah, I watched Bridgerton. Yeah, the last episode made me cry like a child. It's a great show. But there are some steamy sex scenes, and I watched the part of the show by myself.
And you were still in tears.
And I was still just like, dude. So it was to the point where I had to turn around and I was like, are my blinds closed? I don't want my neighbor like looking in and seeing like softcore porn on my screen. I don't know. Maybe this is, this is maybe something I should talk about with a therapist. But
even worse if you're on an airplane.
Yeah,
if
dude.
you're watching something like that on the airplane.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You would just look over, what are you watching? There's another uncomfortable conversation though, is like if you are confronted by somebody in public for something you're watching, you're saying, well, maybe not saying, but like, for example, say you wear a t-shirt that has something that's quote unquote inappropriate, and then you have somebody come up to you and berate you about your clothing choices or your haircut choices or what have you.
When I was a kid, I had a Wiz Khalifa shirt that someone gave to me that was a line from one of his songs. Mm-hmm. Wake up drunk, go to sleep fucked up, and I was like, thank you. I was like, I can never wear this anywhere.
Should have worn that your first day at work.
I was like, I don't. This shirt is purely a sleeping shirt because I cannot wear this
or a party shirt.
I guess so. I never. I guess so. I didn't even think about it. I kind of be nervous. I just can't. That's true. I could have worn that like Friday or Saturday, though, like around Albion's campus.
You gotta come correct though, Jared. If you wear that to a party,
that's true. I don't know if I live a lifestyle like I'm not living the lifestyle that merits that shirt. You know, I gotta step it up. You just go there
and you're like, and they offer you a mixed drink. You're like, no, I'm good with beer. And then you know, like an hour later, they come back. Hey, you want a drink? And you're like, no, I'm pretty good. I finished my 2 beers.
They give me a shot, and I do the face. I'm like,
right. or when you go to shoot it, you throw it over your shoulder. You know,
so it's face.
Right. But you know that's another.
Have you ever done like when someone hands you a bottle and you just I know you've done it. I've seen you do it, and you like just put your tongue over and just.
Oh yeah, yep. I've for sure have done that before. Yeah,
I've definitely seen you do that. Every like 4, 5, and you're just like, oh well, yeah, okay, and
yeah. I bring my
own
speed, Jared.
Listen, I wouldn't do it either. I don't blame you. But
that's another one though that can be a difficult topic right there, for sure. As well. Is alcohol and partying and that stuff. That
party
can be a difficult
cultures
topic. Yeah,
would be an interesting thing to talk about. Yeah, write that down.
That'd be all right. I'll send it off.
So yeah, the sex talk. I have
can we rank them? That might be kind of fun.
All right.
If we can do a list of what we think would be the most 5 uncomfortable topics, I will put sex up there. I would say sex is probably in the top 5. I would say.
We already said politics. We talked about that for a bit, and racism.
Yep.
That's got to be in the top 5 too.
Yep. Party culture. Or drinking, drugs, alcohol, that type of thing. Sex for sure.
I have another one, by the way.
Go for it.
Religion.
Yes. Yep.
Dude, I can't tell you. So I can't tell you how many times I've been put in a situation where I essentially have to lie about my religious beliefs.
with your family probably, right?
Some with my family, like my grandparents. They always ask me if I'm going to church. And what am I supposed to say? No. And if I say no, they're like, "Oh, are you looking?" I was like, "No, no, I can't do that. I can't
tell
do
them
it."
You started your own congregation. It's called the Untranslatable Podcast.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
I think excommunicated from your family.
That would calm their nerves. Of like, I started my own religion instead. Fuck it. I don't need it. I got my own.
That's what the King of England did, right? He wasn't a fan of what the church was doing. So
I don't like what they're saying. I got my own ideas, and I'm taking them to the streets.
Right.
But my family is one thing. I've been asked on multiple occasions. I don't think at this recent job, but at previous jobs, about whether I go to church or not, and like what my religion is. A couple times in Philadelphia, because my last job had some slight religious leanings to them.
Okay.
Or the company sort of did, and so like one of my coworkers asked me like if I had found a church, and in my head I was like, I'm not. I was like, why are you asking? I was like, I'm not looking.
Right.
But I just said no, not yet. That's what I said. Like, like I'm in the process.
Right.
Well, what am I supposed to say? And that's the thing. And I was like, well, I don't want our because this is someone I worked closely with, and I like this guy a lot. I do like this guy, and I don't want our relationship to turn weird if I'm just like, yeah, I'm not looking, not interested. It's not gonna happen. No interest. And I was like, no, this guy's gonna, because this guy was very religious, and now he's gonna look at me like I'm some sort of heathen over there in the cubicle
Christian,
across
probably.
Yeah.
If you really want to throw a Christian for a loop, you could say, "Oh yeah, I found a great mosque down the street."
Dude, that would be good. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I'm at work,
Right.
And I'm just what am I supposed to say in this situation? What do you want from me? Because like, there's really only one acceptable answer, and I don't have it for you. And you're my colleague,
right? And now you're going to judge me based on my answer, which is.
I've been put in a couple work situations like that. At that same job, another dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. And this guy. So we do like these like like these annual reviews or whatever, and it's like with like an HR person. And during the annual review thing, where I talk about my progress and I talk about how my relationship is with my boss, he asked me if I'm religious. And I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? And then he and that time I think I told him the truth. I was like, no. And he might have asked me if he could pray for me, and I might have said no. I don't remember. Okay. I might have said yes. I might have said no. But I mean, if he said pray for me, I probably said yes. Sure, I don't care. Pray for me, yeah, fine. Right. But if he said, he might have asked like in the meeting, then I might have said I might have said no too. I don't remember exactly what happened, but that is the worst, because I was like, well, how is this going to affect? Well, we know how it affects. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, to be clear, but I'm just like, I don't want this. This is a classic. No, don't talk about at work topic. What is happening?
Right. Yeah. Well. But
have you ever run into that? Because you're so a-religious. Like, you have no religious affiliation.
Nah.
No one's ever asked you in awkward situations about your church.
You know what though, Jared? Also, the places where I've worked.
But even just in your personal life.
No, because honestly, I haven't. Maybe all of us teachers are heathens, Jared. Maybe we are, and people in education are heathens. I could be wrong.
Well, you know what's the worst part is, and not that I feel guilt about it or anything, is like I did grow up as a church going kid, so like why? So it is like when I say no, even though they don't know that, I guess it is sort of like like it is like talking to my grandparents or something, or like, now I gotta I got the weight of a lost soul on my shoulders.
Right. Speaking of that though, Jared, that's another tough topic to talk about, is death.
Oh yeah, dude.
Death is another big one, and that one's tough because it's multifaceted, right? Mm-hmm. It's related to religion, so it's related to what you think happens after people die. Obviously, there's some personal, people are grieving, so there's some sensitivity about the subject there. I never know as well, like, how to properly, like, address and interact with people who recently have lost a loved one.
I struggle with that too. Like, what's the right thing to say?
Right.
How can you just like, and like, obviously you don't want to like give advice or like say it'll be better. Like, you just don't, like, what do I say?
And you also don't want to be the clown trying to cheer them up.
Exactly.
I think the thing that makes that difficult is, as a culture, I think the U.S. we are terrible.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We are terrible at the U.S. about just letting people feel their emotions. Like, if it's okay to be sad sometimes.
Sure.
I think a lot of times we forget that we have these range of emotions, and just because you're feeling sad or angry or upset or what have you, it's fine. Feel those emotions. Now, what's not appropriate is how you respond to those emotions. So if you're sad and your coworker says something and then you lash out at them, I would say that's obviously not the correct way to handle a situation like that.
Yeah, or if start go into substances or whatever. Sure, there are bad ways to handle situations, but yeah, I think that's the. Oh, I think that's also the tough thing as someone that, like you said, that would be but that, like, in the position of like trying to be there for someone that that you're friends with or you have some sort of relation to that lost someone, where it's like, it's like where's the line between, letting you know that I'm there, but also not just talking to talk, not just saying words because you're uncomfortable. Well, that's another thing, the awkward silence, the fear of that awkward silence, which I think there are a lot of situations where that awkward silence is only awkward because someone makes it silent, or because that person feels awkward, and it should be embraced a lot more. Just the
interesting thing about awkward silence, Jared, is that we have all these filler words in English and in many languages because we want to avoid the silence. We want to avoid the awkward silence, and I find it fascinating because I think when you meet a good friend or you have a family member or a significant other where you can just sit there for a minute and neither person needs to say anything, those are the relationships I actually like the most.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you constantly have to feel like you have to talk or they have to talk in order, it just to me it seems too forced. It's not organic. Silence is good.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in just like a normal conversation, you don't always have to have something to say. That's for sure. What are some other topics? We've talked about politics, racism, death, sex,
politics. Another politics
religion.
One that I would say would be like geopolitics / nationalism. Because and I'm saying this more so because I had to be very careful. For example, Jared, when I was in China, I had to be very careful what I said and how I said it because I didn't want to have any difficult conversations about, it's one thing to have different beliefs and it's also one thing to defend those beliefs you have. It's another thing though to share those beliefs with a group of people who have never or most people have never experienced anything like that. Therefore, it can be very difficult for them to relate, be able to empathize. And a lot of people, I don't know why this is, but a lot of people, when I was in China, I was very careful with even doing comparisons because I didn't want my students to think that this is some evaluation of their home country or culture because it wasn't. It was just, this is what I saw and experienced in the U.S. This is what I saw and experienced in China.
I'm not saying one's better or worse. I'm just saying these are things that I've experienced.
Right. Things I've experienced and observed.
Well, and we know in general the idea of nationalism is tricky in a lot of countries. In the U.S. here, we tend to obsess over nationalism, American flags flying outside of your house, stickers on your car.
I actually might put an American flag sticker on my van, Jared.
Did you really?
I might.
Okay. Good luck with that.
Jared doesn't want to be friends with me anymore.
The American flag in itself is such a polarizing symbol, especially to have like stickered on a vehicle or something like that.
Is my van going to get vandalized if I put an American flag on there?
Not where you're going. You're fine. You're going north to northern Michigan. You're fine.
Maybe that's why I'm putting it on, and I'll take that one off and put a different one on when I go south or something.
Maybe be careful. Yeah, yeah. You have a little over that. You just put a little stars and bars. But it's such a polarizing symbol these days. But nationalism is anyway. So in the U.S., we are free and liberal with our usage of our flags and our American symbols on our clothes and underwear and bikinis and whatnot.
Napkins, paper plates.
But you don't see that in like Germany. They would not do that in Germany.
No
they have
way.
They are way more. They are very uncomfortable with the idea of nationalism because they have a much realer relationship with it than we do here in the United States.
Right.
And they are more aware of their history, to be honest with you, and realize the dangers that nationalism has caused their them or their country in the past.
Right. That's another difficult topic, Jared, that I can't believe it kind of went over my head, but history.
Yeah,
dude. Especially U.S. history.
Yeah.
That is
Confederate
also
monuments and shit.
Well, not only that, but just
the history we're told. I mean, the history we as students in America are told and what they choose not to tell you.
Right. And as you get older, and if you start to find out and do some research on your own,
we got the Disney history.
Right. We did. No kidding. And who knows who knows, Jared, what kind of watered down bullshit kids are probably getting nowadays.
Sure.
You know what I
it's
mean?
still happening. I mean, there are probably a lot of kids are probably using the same textbooks we used when we were in high school and middle school.
No. So I heard about one textbook, I think it was in Texas. They were, I believe they had gotten rid of the Trail of Tears in the history books. They had omitted it, which is, but see, the thing about history, why it's so difficult is, we are telling these stories of tragic loss, of genocide, of war, of all of these horrendous things that happened throughout time. And
most
and
of
the
our
point
history is not rosy and Disneyfied.
Right. And if
general,
you're
not even
reading
just ours,
history,
just the world.
If you're reading history to feel good about yourself, you need to you need to find something else to read, because that's not the point of history.
Yeah,
that's really not.
Yeah, I hate the protecting of kids' feelings, because it's this is the point of education, is that you have to teach people, as people, at some point we have to teach people about the realities of the world. And we get to the point
you can't
in the US
shelter someone forever.
where every year parents are like, my kids are too young for this, and it's well, they're seniors in high school now, so
right. and what, you don't think with the internet that they won't be able to find it somehow? Really?
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
I notice with my niece and my nephews,
or they don't.
They are so damn smart.
Or they don't, and then that's how you get situations that we're in now. With Zlatan talking about LeBron. It's because you don't know our history. Obviously it's different. He's not American. That's a bad example, but you understand what I'm saying. That's how you still get this high level of ignorance that we have, because people don't learn. There's a whole bunch of ignorance at all levels of society, because people never, didn't learn the truth in school and never chose to learn it as an adult.
I am terrified of the way that we are going. If you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy,
I'm familiar with it.
We're slowly moving down that path, Jared. You just wait. We're slowly moving down that path.
I'm familiar with it because I've heard people reference that before.
Right. Because if we're not willing to have these difficult conversations with people, they're going to figure out the hard way, and they're not going to know any better, and we're just setting other people up for failure. At the end of the day, that is kind of if there's any point I would like a listener to take away, is what I just said right there.
I believe another topic in Idiocracy was the climate, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
And I'd say the climate is a difficult conversation to have with people. Climate change.
Mm-hmm. Right.
There's people that are just flat out in denial of it.
Well, I think it's funny, the fact that we have a flat Earth movement. The fact that somehow is a movement.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
Yeah, and I think that's people just science is lose some. I don't know. I haven't been around long enough to be able to say this, but it feels like science is losing its credibility somehow. And I'm not saying it's science's fault. But I feel it's somehow the internet's fault, social media's fault, people thinking they have answers to everything.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's some media narrative outlets as well.
Sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say
the fact that a fact nowadays can be the fact you can have fake news and fake facts. It's it's ridiculous.
Climate change is certainly an argument that I have no interest in getting in with someone.
Right.
I'll get. No, I probably wouldn't get it, but there's no point to me. It's there's no way. First of all, I'm not an expert. I'm just going off of what I've heard experts say. So there's no way I have and I admit that I don't have the expertise to be able to sort of do the intellectual jujitsu and
that's
talk
kind
you down.
of the first step, though, Jared. I think that level of awareness is great, because if more people had that level of awareness, they might not be leading people down the wrong path when they try to, as you said, you're not an expert in climate change. I'm not either. If I were to try to convince someone, first of all, we're probably in all likelihood not going to convince them.
Exactly.
But also the fact that we are not experts on the subject, if they try to gaslight us or do other things, we probably wouldn't be able to handle it. That's why.
And I don't want to find myself in a situation where someone's throwing some fact that's probably not a real fact at me, and I'm I don't know what to tell you, but I know that from what I believe, climate change is a real thing, and we need to address it a lot faster. but I can't. I don't know. I can't talk you. I can't come at you with a talking point. I don't know.
Right. It's difficult. Another really difficult topic to talk about, and actually I had to talk with my parents about this a little while ago, is in the U.S. specifically, gun violence and acts of terror. That's another difficult thing. Like I'm thinking about as well. Like we've talked about a couple times on this episode, like having conversations, especially with younger people or your kids.
It's because it's intertwined, especially in the United States, with race.
Right.
We had one big terrorist attack happen in 2001, and then a certain group of people became the quote unquote terrorist.
Yep, they were the scapegoats,
and we've been ignoring real and legitimate terrorism with domestic terrorism within our own country, because we have this idea of what a quote unquote terrorist is, and it's not a white dude running into the Capitol. That's just an American fighting for his freedom.
Right. Which I still don't get how less people. Well, I do get it because they're white, but I get that's the short and easy answer.
Part of Nashville on Christmas or whatever.
Right.
They never call that guy a terrorist.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. Yeah.
So now, Jared, we've talked about some. So if we were to recap though, and I think my personal top 5, and you're more than welcome to have a different.
Let me just run through the
five.
list of all the ones we said real quick. I wrote them down: politics, racism, death, sex, religion, nationalism, history, climate change.
So I think number 1, I think probably at least for, I wouldn't say necessarily for me, but I think the number 1 most difficult topic to talk about, because it's so nuanced and so personal, is I'm going to go number 1 with race. I think that would be my most difficult.
I'd agree with you on that.
I'd say number 2 for me, especially trying to talk to other people, would be politics, because once again, that's also very nuanced. You need to really know what you're talking about.
In the United States, those are kind of the one and the same.
Right. So I'd say race,
but I would still say they are separate, because race is also an exhausting thing to talk about in other countries too. With people from other
politics as well. Exactly.
I hate it when people from foreign countries, or not, non-American countries, try to talk to me about race, because they have no idea what they're talking about. It's just always aggravating. Not always. Most of the time, it's very aggravating.
I will say, though, I agree with you, especially if they're coming from like a more patronizing standpoint. However, I will say, if you a good example of this where I think someone might be able to actually empathize a little bit, and we had a discussion at work about this actually, was the Romani people, for example. So, which is the slang, the politically incorrect term for this group of people would be gypsies, and so. This might be a group of people where you could actually have a discourse with them about race, and I think that you could come to some levels of understanding, because there are some similarities in the negative treatment of
that's true. But those aren't the Europeans I've interacted with.
well, sure, I know what you mean. But yeah, so anyways, so race number 1, politics number 2. I would say for me. Most difficult topic to talk about for number 3.
I'd say sex for me.
Okay, I would
death, religion, nationalism.
I'd
history.
say religion. I would say religion would be my 3.
You don't even talk about
my
religion.
4. Correct, but that's why.
It doesn't
that's
seem like
why I don't talk about it.
You made it seem like you don't get put into situations where you are having these conversations,
because I don't open up that dialogue.
But it feels like also to me, religion, as far as knowledge base goes, kind of falls into similar lane as climate change for you, where like it doesn't seem like you have any knowledge or understanding of religion, whether that be.
I think that's a little harsh, Jared.
I mean, okay,
I wouldn't say any. I have some,
but you have no real like experience with like going to like with churches or like.
Right.
Or like living within religious households or
right
or
true.
And so like it's sort of a topic that's kind of easy for you not to touch because it's like, listen, I don't know, I can't speak on it, you know. Where
Right.
I'm by no means a religious expert, but I do have some experience, at least like going to church and being around
for sure.
religious family members. But like you know, I'm no expert either, to be fair. I would say sex for me, and then I would probably say religion after that.
Okay. And my last one, number 5, which maybe it should be higher up on the list, but I would say violence and acts of terror would be the last one. And I think that's difficult to talk about because it's intertwined with so many other aspects, right? It can be intertwined with race. It can be intertwined with politics or religion, you know, all these other things we've mentioned. Or if we're talking about incels, you could relate that back to sex.
That's why I would say my number 5 is death. Because
oh yeah.
Because and I don't mean your kind of death. I mean just like, you know, talking like conversations with someone that you know that has, you know, someone close to them has passed, and how you approach those conversations. And I think that's because I've had experienced that a couple of times. You know, someone that I'm close with has lost someone, and it is. And you know, so you never know if you're doing enough or not, or doing too much,
right?
And you know, when I ask, I don't know. It's a hard situation.
It is. It's very difficult. I would say what has helped me the most in the past when I've lost loved ones, believe it or not, and maybe this isn't the right way to handle it. I'm no therapist. I'm no grief counselor, but for me, what seemed to help actually was when we'd take a day, you know, usually the funeral or the service, to acknowledge what happened. You know,
and then never talk about it again.
I mean, kind of, yeah. And maybe that's not the right way. You know, as I said, I'm no grief counselor. This is not like therapeutic advice here.
That does not sound like the advice that a psychologist would give.
Probably not. But see, that's what tends to help me. Like if I can,
I mean, you know, everyone has
focus
their own
my
method.
attention elsewhere. Right. But,
sure.
But you know, yeah, it's tricky. I will say this though, Jared. I think the way you know when you have a topic that's a difficult topic is when you avoid discussing it. I think that's like one of the telltale signs. You know, when I think about difficult conversations, it's always like you hesitate or you push it back or you just don't address it. But I do think a lot of times you need to address it, because if you don't, it just will fester and fester.
Yeah.
And it's just not healthy. It's not good. Now, granted, take this with a grain of salt, because obviously if you have an asshole boss and you have a disagreement about something and you go and confront your boss, you might lose your job. But yeah, or just take the Jared route and punch him in the face.
It's always worked for me.
Right. But yeah, it's, I think navigating difficult conversations, you need a lot of, you need a good level of empathy with the person you're speaking with, I would say. You also need some levels of awareness, and also just to be a good listener. I think a lot of times people sometimes will have these difficult conversations, not because they want a solution, but they just want to be heard. They want you to realize that you have a problem, and I'm sorry you have that problem, and I'm listening to you with that problem. I know it sounds a little silly, Jared, but I think it's true.
I hear you. I didn't mean to laugh. I'm sorry.
See, you're using my trick against me right now, Jared.
No. I did see the laugh is just difficult conversations, and it's just a reflex, you know.
Sense of humor is another way a lot of people handle
to
these.
Avoid difficult
That's
situations.
True.
Exactly.
Which I think to some degree is also good. You know, but
whatever works for you.
Exactly. Well, Jared, you know what my best therapy though for dealing with a difficult conversation?
What's that? Beer.
Well, that's after I have step 1 checked off. Beer would be the next one. I was going to say good music. And we have some good music today with our song of the pod, which is...
Would this be a song that would be great for you if you were trying to cope with some sort of difficult conversation you just had to have and it's really weighing on you?
I think so, maybe.
What do you call this? Trip hop? Is that what you call this? This jazzy hip hop Brazil beat with this Brazilian by these Brazilian people?
I'll be honest, Jared, I don't know what this is, what you should call this. But
jazzy hip hop is what I would call it.
Yeah.
But I think for some reason I feel like that's a word I've heard before.
Or bossa-esque hip hop. I have no idea. I don't know what
bossa
the correct
hop.
terminology. There we go. But yeah, the song is called When It Rains, Chove Chuva by Saib, I'm not sure. But it does have some serious...
But apparently Chave Chuva actually means it rains rain.
Yeah.
Or it's raining rain.
Right. Which, I don't know, Jared. I do think this one would be maybe a good one if you had kind of a stressful, difficult conversation. Maybe you did need, do a little crying. Maybe this will
No, I can't
relax
cry to this
you,
music.
calm you down.
It's good, but I can't cry to this. Also, it's only 2 minutes. I need something longer than 2 minutes to cry to. Do you have like a go-to music if you're feeling very emotional? I don't think I do.
I did when I was a teenager. I did when I was a teenager, cheesy breakup music and stuff. But
okay, I thought you'd go to like punk or something and get angry.
Well, funny you mentioned that, Jared. When I was in middle school,
heart in 2 pieces. Oh wait, no, that's I literally just started singing
Last Resort, Papa Roach.
I did not even mean to do that.
That's funny. Thanks, Jared. We just got copyright flagged and our video's off of YouTube now.
No, luckily I got the notes wrong because I wasn't even planning on singing that song.
Right. But anyways, when I was younger, it was actually I would go into aggression first, so it was metal. It was Slipknot. Slipknot was my go-to. Angry, yeah, exactly. And then as I got older, it was it was more like mellow stuff, kind of, with obviously some acoustic guitar and some like drawn out violin in the background, probably, that kind of thing. Nowadays, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess I listen to so much random music, it would be hard to say. But this song today, Jared, Chove Chuva, is definitely something else.
Yeah, I dig it. It's got a nice groove to it.
I would recommend checking out that whole album by Saib. It's called Ipanema, which is, I could be wrong, but I think it's a beach line in Brazil. I could be wrong about that. But anyways, yeah, it does have really cool guitar elements, and yeah, it does have that kind of chill hip hop beat in the background, but it also has bossa nova aspects to it or jazzy aspects to it. It's definitely something else.
Yeah. Do you need anything else from me?
I was.
If there's a long
curious.
silence like that, just assume that you can continue on it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyways, check it out. When It Rains, Chove Chuva, or It's Raining Rain, I think is the better translation, on our YouTube channel, Song of the Pod playlist. It is definitely something else, and you will not be disappointed. All right, Jared. Well, I think we have covered the difficult topics, and I think we're still friends. I don't have any added animosity towards you after today's episode. Don't know if I can say the same about you for me, but anyways, I think this was a good episode. We've definitely covered quite a few difficult topics, and I would say at the end of the day, just to wrap today's episode up, at the end of the day, the key with navigating any of these difficult topics with somebody is, just really try to hear them out. Try to see where they're coming from. There can be something very powerful that even if you do disagree with someone, find out what common ground do you actually have with that person. So anyways, I'm going to get off my high horse now, but there's my little quick, minute preach session for everybody out there. Develop that common ground with someone. Find out what you can agree upon. You'd be surprised maybe where these difficult conversations will lead you. So anyways, let us know what are some difficult conversation topics you've encountered at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can slide into those DMs on Twitter, untranslatable1, number 1. And you can call out all of those people who are doing unsavory practices so we can have some difficult conversations with them as well. Check us out on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, and on YouTube as well. And please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, and let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania.
I have an idea for a YouTube show for you.
Oh, nice.
Uncomfortable Conversations with a Chad.
There we go.
I think that would do well. You could probably get some pretty aggressive comments.
Probably would. Oh, I'm sure I would.
Fuck this guy. I don't know. What does this guy have to say? This white Chad.
That's right.
Or you might also get some manospheres guy like, oh, this is a
white cis het guy.
Not the cis het. Yeah. Not cis. You don't listen to podcasts, so that's fair. I hear that word more than you do.
You probably do. I'm sure you do.
Oh, geez, speaking of